The last thing I want to talk about is selling to power and selling to executives. You just gave me a great segue. Do you have a framework that you use or a set of principles that you use when you talk to executives in executive meetings? What sort of framework or set of principles are you using while you're setting up the agenda and having that conversation?
Yeah, I would say like the first thing that always goes through my mind is to try and kind of look at the meeting from their perspective, to try and put myself in as much as what I think it is going on in their company. Again, from the research I've done, from the conversations I've had, like a recent example of someone on my team, they're working with a large financial services organization. And over the last 6 months, I would say the conversations they've had across that organization with all types of stakeholders across the business, and the time they've spent just listening and gathering insight and understanding, like nothing to do with communicating what Envision does, but like really what this business is trying to achieve and the barriers that are stopping them maybe reaching those things in the context of an annual report or anything else that you can find out about what they're doing strategically. All of that enabled us to, when we sat down with the CMO, in 30 minutes, communicate more insight to that individual than perhaps he had been exposed to in a little while, right? And so I guess for me, like, you got to do the groundwork. Like, there's no point turning up to these executive meetings with like some sort of discovery conversation framework. Like, you get a short amount of time. They want to be educated. You've got to have some type of insight, and you've got to be super clear on the outcome that you want that individual. And so for us in that specific example, like, we wanted his sponsorship on something, and we were super clear about that and had earned the right to ask for it because we had turned up with a very clear vocabulary, framework, ask, and insight based on a ton of groundwork we've done in that business. And so for me, it's just like, do the research, do the prep, look at it from their perspective, know that they've got a short amount of time and could be talking to any type of vendor. And therefore, if they can't leave that room feeling like they've learned something or have got something clear that they can action, I would say, like, go back to the drawing board.
Nice. That's great. One quick follow-up to that. You mentioned prep and doing the pre-work multiple times in this conversation. How important is it to have something company-specific versus more general, but that applies to their industry or their competitors?
Yeah, no, completely. I would say, firstly, it's about the stage in the process and the ask, right? So in the example that I gave to you, the ask was quite clear about like how we could help them with a recommendation about their organization. So it wasn't necessarily the start of a conversation where we were looking to like build a relationship. We had done a lot of stakeholder engagement across lots of functions at a quite senior level, like C-1 or 2 in some cases. Mm-hmm. And in this example, it was like, here's our recommendation. Here's how it's been validated across all of these people with all of this business case. Will you support it? Nice. So that I would say in that stage is a different type of executive engagement where you need to have done the groundwork. In an earlier stage where perhaps the executive engagement is more at the beginning of a process where you're looking to start top down and go straight in at that level, I think any type of insight that is anchored in like what you know about the company, what you know about the industry, what you know about their benchmark peers is really strong. Like if you're at the beginning of something and your ask is maybe like introductions to more people on their team or them to work with you on a specific problem that you solve really well as a company, I think that's a different type of ask, but equally requires the same amount of prep, right? And I kind of go back to like, what's the size of prize and what is it you're trying to achieve in the context of the goals that you have? And if this is something that you genuinely believe with this person is going to move your business forward, there's no amount of time frame on the prep that in my mind is not worth doing. Right. If you truly want to meet the outcome and you've decided that that's like a key priority for you. So